seat over here, and just ignore the camera during our conversation, and you can just chat directly with me.
Oh, okay.
So, kind of frame it up. Yeah, that looks real good. So that way it's not like direct and we're having a conversation. So, John, if you could you give us your name and title with SGIP, and then a little bit about what you do with SGIP.
I'm John McDonald, and with the SGIP means Smart Grid Interoperability Panel, and I'm the chairman of the board of SGIP 2.0, right, which is the new member-funded model of SGIP.
Mm-hmm. So what are the benefits to members of SGIP? What are the general benefits for membership?
Yeah, that's benefits of participation, in SGIP is extremely important today, because in the first 2 or 3 years when we were government funded, there was no fee to participate, and now that we're member funded and organizations are paying dues, it's very important for us to clearly articulate, right, what the benefits are. So we look at the benefits 3 ways. One way would be the individual that participates. What's the benefit to the individual? Okay? The individual learns a lot about the technology, learns a lot about what the competition is doing, learns a lot about the trends in the marketplace when you're doing standards work. Okay? And then the individual's organization benefits, because that individual brings back to the organization relevant, timely information that then is used in the strategy, the development of product, or for utilities, the framing of projects that they need to do. And so the organization benefits. And then the third level is the benefits to the industry in general. With SGIP, the ultimate benefit is that we accelerate standards, we accelerate the interoperability of technology, which benefits everybody.
Now, John, you're not only the chairman of the board with SGIP, you also work with GE, who's a member. Can you tell me a little bit about how your association and membership with SGIP has helped benefit the work that you've done with GE?
Sure. So the business that I'm in at GE is called Digital Energy. It's within energy management, which reports directly to the CEO of GE. So energy management is 4 businesses. We're one of those 4 businesses, but our 4 businesses go directly to the CEO. So we're fairly visible within all of GE. And my role has 3 parts. It's technical strategy of the business, so cutting across all the product lines, in terms of strategy. 2 is industry standards, which is very well aligned, with the Smart Grid Interoperability Panel work. 3 is policy development. We say that the success of Smart Grid has 3 parts: technology, standards, and policy. So it's important that those 3 have equal weight, and that they're also interdependent with each other. So what's important is that those 3 I have the responsibility for. So one person has responsibility for all 3. So we found that standards greatly impact what we do at GE. We want to make sure when we develop technology that we're aware of what the industry standards are that would impact that technology, and or on the other hand, better yet, if we lead the standards work, we can influence standards work where it would be strategic to what we do at GE. So I think bottom line is, there's 2 choices with respect to standards. You can not participate, right? And others can make the decisions, and then you react to those, right? Or my preference with everything that I do and the company I work for, I try to make sure the company wants to do it that way. I would rather be a leader and making the decisions, for the industry, for my company. So we can be the most strategically positioned because we're leading the effort and have others react to us, right? So we've actually I've actually in report outs to executive leadership of GE documented key wins that we've had at General Electric because of our leadership in industry standards work. And in many cases, we can quantify that in terms of the dollars that we've saved or not lost, right? Because of leadership and standards.
Wow, that's incredible. So, John, as a leader in the industry, you're very involved with a lot of organizations, but you've put a lot of heart and soul into SGIP. So, why SGIP?
You know, that's a really good question. Because I got involved in standards work initially in the 1980s with the IEEE Power and Energy Society in the Substations Committee. And I went from working group chair to a subcommittee chair, and then I was chair of the entire committee, which is all the standards written for substations for the world. We had about 450 experts, and I chaired that group, and handpicked about 25 of us wrote the first book, a practical reference book on substations. So standards to me from the 1980s, I saw the value in it, you know, as we said, not only to me, but my company and then the industry as a whole. So when the SGIP was announced in 2009, there was an at-large category. So there's 23 categories. At-large was written for people with a lot of standards work, but a very broad standards work across a number of different categories. Smart grid goes from, we say in GE, turbine to toaster, from generation to customer. So the at-large category was actually people that had standards experience across a number of different categories: transmission, distribution, generation, customer. And I had a lot of standards experience with IEEE, IEC, and some other standards development organizations. So I threw my hat in the ring. 11 people competed for 3 positions, and I got one of the 3 positions. So at our very first board meeting, that was where I realized that it was a good choice, because it was a new organization. We were really the pioneers, you know, for smart grid standards work in the United States. We had $10 million of stimulus funds, and we were charting a course for the U.S. You know, it hadn't been done before. So that's exciting from the point of view of you're not in a position of doing something that someone's done before, but you really have the you have the responsibility to do the best thing, but nobody knows what that is. And then I looked around the board, and it was a who's who of the top technical and standards people in the U.S., which was exciting. But what was a little bit daunting was we had to, in 2009, NIST said to us, we need a chair, vice chair, and secretary. And to think about that, in our next board meeting in early 2010, we would decide who that would be. And I'll never forget, in the car ride to the airport from 2 of the board members, one said he had 10 votes for me already for chair, and the other said that he supported that. And I hadn't even thought of chairing the board. You know, it was just, at that point, all of us were just digesting the fact of this new board and what we were going to be doing. So I thought about that, and I said, it was really daunting to think of being the chair, but it was something that, as I said, I've always had when I have a passion for something, I really would like to lead it if I can, because that's, you know, you feel like all your knowledge and experience you're using to the best of your ability to take the organization in the way that you feel is best. But also, to me, a board chair is getting the most out of all the board members, you know, contribution-wise, and then bringing the group to a consensus, right, which is the best for the group. So I was elected to chair the board unanimously by the board at our next meeting, early 2010, and then re-elected to chair the board 2 years later. And I've just been chair of the board ever since the beginning. And so it's really the ultimate for me in all the standards work I've done in the industry, because I think of it when we started as a farmer with a field that's never been plowed before, and you have a plow, and then you're wondering, where do I start and what direction do I go? You know, and that's where we were in really in our first board meeting without a lot of NIST direction was in 2010, early 2010. So we collectively as a group figured out what we needed to do, and that was exciting. You don't get many opportunities like that in the industry.
Speaking of being excited, what's the one thing that you're excited for in the years to come for SGIP?
Yeah, that's well, I think we've accomplished a lot, but looking ahead, it's as you have a lot of accomplishments, you see more that you can do. And I think the exciting thing for me is to see all the potential, for what more we can do that we haven't done yet. And the other thing too is in the new organization, it's sharing the passion that we have with others to the point where they want to participate too and join the member-funded organization, getting more people plugged in to help. And really, as technology is changing so quickly, the need for standards, new standards is changing quickly, and there's things that we need to do that we haven't done yet. So I think it's continue to add value to the industry, to the organizations, and making sure we keep up with the changing industry and the changing technology. And the bottom line is that we're providing as much relevance as an organization, as we can to the industry. So I think it's the untapped potential, the things that we haven't done yet, is exciting. That as we look ahead, our plans for next year, the key areas that we need to get into or continue to get into, and the work that we need to do.
So speaking about relevance, how can interoperability provide relevance to utilities?
Yeah, well, that really interoperability, the need for interoperability has really come out of the change, in the industry with smart grid, where we've transitioned from. It's not that we aren't selling boxes or microprocessor-based devices like we always have, or systems like a distribution management system or an energy management system, but now we have another tier of technology offerings, which are solutions, integrated solutions. Because so much of what we do today, technology has given us communications capability. Previously, we had standalone electromechanical devices that didn't communicate. So if you wanted to read it, you had to go to the substation to see it. Now our devices have communication, so they can become nodes in a network. So it gives us more capability to put an integrated solution together, which actually provides more value, to the customer. But these technology components that we integrate aren't necessarily from the same vendor, right? And the only way that they truly be integrated successfully is if they comply with the same standard or set of standards. Right? If you take a number of components, like for distribution automation, feeder automation at a utility, you have components in the control center, the substation, the feeder, and they all need to communicate with each other. And there's no chance that that'll happen unless standards, compliance to standards, and interoperability is there. So there's more emphasis today on standards and interoperability than ever before, because really what we're doing today is solution-based more so than before. So we needed standards before, but much more important today. So that's why the work at SGIP, compliance to standards, testing for interoperability is so important. We learned with the stimulus funds and the deployment of technologies as a result of the stimulus funds that two things: there was more hype than reality with the maturity of the components and the solution. The technology in many cases was not as mature as we thought. So we deployed these integrated solutions. We found components that didn't work as they should, or they couldn't communicate with other components. So we found technology in some cases needed more field provenness, more maturity. And the second thing was we found how important standards were, right? Because we thought we were ready to deploy the integrated solution. We put it in the field, and again, we found that we had incompatibilities with communications. So it just emphasized even more the importance of interoperability with what we're doing today.
Okay. That is just more than enough, but